The massive chamber of the Galactic Council stretched wide and tall, with thousands of seats arranged in perfect circles around the central speaking platform. Each seat represented a different species from across the galaxy. Some delegates had fur, others scales, and a few were made of living crystal or pure energy contained in specialized suits. But today, every eye, sensory organ, and perception device was fixed on the human delegation. Ambassador Jack Morrison sat very still, his weathered face betraying no emotion. His gray suit was simple compared to the elaborate garments and ceremonial armor worn by other species. At 58, Morrison had spent the last 15 years representing humanity to the stars. Next to him, Ambassador Patricia Coleman reviewed data on her tablet, her dark hair pulled back in a neat bun, High Counselor Zixvax of the Meldorian. Confederacy droned on about resource allocation from the central platform. The 7-foot insectoid's mandibles clicked between sentences as he detailed why. Once again, the elder races deserve priority access to newly discovered worlds. As founding members with 5 millennia of council membership, the Meldorian economic needs must take precedence over younger species still proving their galactic value, Zixvax said, his translator rendering his clicks and whistles into standard galactic common. Morrison checked his watch. Humanity had endured 53 years of this treatment. 53 years of being called newcomers and unproven. 53 years of having their colonial requests denied, their technological innovations restricted, and their military capabilities limited by council regulations. Enough was enough. Morrison stood up abruptly, causing Zixvax to pause mid-sentence. This was a breach of protocol. No one interrupted an elder race representative during formal proceedings. Point of urgent intervention, Morrison said, his voice calm but carrying throughout the chamber. The council mediator, a gelatinous being named Ool, rippled with surprise. The council recognizes Earth Ambassador Morrison. This is highly irregular, Ambassador. High Counselor Zixvax has the floor. What I have to say cannot wait, Morrison replied, stepping into the aisle. Without waiting for permission, he walked down toward the central platform. A murmur spread through the chamber. Coleman followed him, carrying a stack of small data chips. Zixvax's compound eyes gleamed with anger. This is outrageous. The human shows the disrespect typical of his primitive species. Morrison reached the speaking platform and looked up at the council records, confirming that the session was being recorded and broadcast throughout council space as all full sessions were. Representatives of the Galactic Council, he began, his voice steady. For 53 years, humanity has participated in this body with good faith, patience, and respect. We have followed your regulations, accepted your restrictions, and waited our turn. He paused, making eye contact with delegates from several key races. That ends today. As of this moment, Earth and all human colonies are withdrawing from the Galactic Council. We are ending all diplomatic relations. Our borders are now closed to council representatives. We will no longer participate in galactic politics under the current framework. The chamber erupted. Delegates shouted, buzzed, or emitted various frequencies of light depending on their biology. The mediator Ool expanded to twice his normal size, a sign of extreme distress. Order! Order in the council! Ool's voice boomed. Ambassador Morrison, you cannot simply withdraw. There are protocols, treaties, agreements, all of which include provisions for withdrawal under Article 7, Section 12 of the Charter, Morrison interrupted. We have followed the legal procedure. Our formal notice was filed with the Council Registry 1 standard hour ago. The Arcturian delegate, a being of pure energy, flared bright orange. This is about the Proxima settlement, isn't it? The Council only delayed your colonization rights there temporarily. For the 3rd time, Morrison replied, after we had already transported colonists and equipment. A reptilian Drakari representative hissed. The humans seek to expand too quickly. This tantrum proves they lack the maturity for full council privileges. Coleman stepped forward, holding up the stack of data chips. Before we depart, we are distributing evidence to each council member. This is not about Proxima or any single incident. She began walking around the inner circle, placing a data chip in front of each of the 28 senior council races. "What is the meaning of this?" demanded Kivora, the towering representative of the Solarian collective. The four-armed diplomat picked up the chip with obvious suspicion. Morrison's face hardened. "For the past 30 years, Earth intelligence has been gathering evidence. We now have proof that senior council races have been systematically sabotaging human scientific advancement. Specifically, the Meldorians, Drakari, and Solarians have introduced subtle flaws into technology shared with Earth, planted false scientific data, and intercepted our breakthroughs to ensure they never reached completion." The chamber went silent. Then the accused races began shouting denials all at once. "These accusations are absurd." Human paranoia at its finest. "We have guided your species from its infancy." Morrison raised his hand. "The evidence is comprehensive and conclusive. Review it or don't. Our decision stands." The mediator Uhl rippled with increasing agitation. "Ambassador, please. Let us discuss this like rational beings. Whatever grievances Earth has, the Council can address them through proper channels." "We tried proper channels for decades," Morrison replied. "Now we choose a different path." He turned to leave, but the Volari representative, an ancient species known for their wisdom, spoke up. "What does Earth hope to gain from isolation, Ambassador? No species can thrive alone in this galaxy." Morrison paused. "Who said anything about isolation? We're simply withdrawing from this council and its restrictions. Earth will pursue its own destiny now." Coleman had finished distributing the data chips and rejoined Morrison. Together they walked up the aisle toward the exit. A human delegation rose from their seats and followed. "This is unprecedented," Zixvax clicked furiously. "The Council should immediately authorize sanctions against Earth." Several delegates nodded in agreement, but others were already reviewing the evidence on the data chips, their expressions growing concerned. As the humans reached the grand doors of the council chamber, Morrison turned one last time. "For those who have treated us fairly, we bear no ill will. For the rest, history will judge your actions." The human delegation exited the chamber, leaving chaos in their wake. 3 hours later, in the secure conference room of Earth's presidential compound in Geneva, President Susan Kelly watched the recording of the council session. The holographic display showed the continuing uproar after the human delegation had left. "Well done, Jack," she said as the recording ended. Morrison, now sitting across from her, nodded grimly. "How long until they realize the full extent of what we've done?" asked General Alan Wright, the stocky, gray-haired head of Earth Defense Forces. Coleman, who had taken a seat next to Morrison, checked her tablet. "The data packets only contained evidence of their sabotage. They have no idea about Project Singularity yet." President Kelly stood and walked to the window overlooking Lake Geneva. "After 50 years of holding us back, they're about to discover what humanity can accomplish when left to our own devices." She turned to face the room. "General Wright, initiate Project Singularity, full deployment of all phases." Wright nodded and spoke into his COM unit. "Command, this is Wright. Authorization Kelly 79er Echo. Activate Singularity, all phases, effective immediately." Across Earth and throughout human colonies, hidden facilities powered up. Research teams received new directives. Military units moved to predetermined positions. And in deep space, stealth satellites began broadcasting signals that would forever change humanity's place in the galaxy. The diplomatic era was over. The age of human innovation had begun. 3 months had passed since Earth's dramatic withdrawal from the Galactic Council. The Grand Council chamber was less crowded today, with the human seats conspicuously empty. An emergency session had been called to address what many species now referred to as the human problem. Councillor T.H. Call of the Raxian Empire stood at the central platform, his scaled skin reflecting the overhead lights as he gestured with clawed hands. Unlike many council members who preferred diplomacy, the Raxians had always favored direct action. 3 months of patience has yielded nothing, Tackle growled, his translator conveying his frustration to the hundreds of assembled delegates. "No communication, no trade, no compliance with established protocols. I propose immediate military intervention to bring the humans back into line." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber, especially from the elder races who had always viewed humanity with suspicion. The humans had been unpredictable from first contact, advancing too quickly, asking too many questions, and pushing boundaries that had been respected for millennia. High Counselor Zixvax clicked his mandibles in approval. The Meldorian Confederacy seconds this proposal. Humans must learn that galactic stability requires adherence to Council authority. The mediator Ool, still disturbed by recent events, expanded slightly. The Council acknowledges the motion. However, we should review the intelligence reports before voting on military action. A holographic display appeared above the central platform, showing various images and data from across human space. The intelligence director, a small gray being with enormous eyes, began the briefing. Human space has gone completely silent, the director said. Our monitoring stations detect unusual activity around Earth and all major human colonies. Massive construction projects are underway, and we're detecting energy signatures unlike anything previously recorded in human territory. The display showed orbital images of Earth with strange structures surrounding the planet. Similar constructions appeared around Mars, Europa, and distant human colonies. What are they building? Asked the Arcturian delegate, her energy form flickering with concern. Unknown, replied the director. Our spies have been unable to penetrate human security. The few trading vessels permitted through their checkpoints. Reports seeing new technologies on human ships that were not present before their withdrawal. Kivora of the Solarian Collective leaned forward. Have they been concealing advanced technology from us all along? The director's large eyes blinked slowly. Unlikely. Our assessment suggests rapid development following their withdrawal. Without Council restrictions on their research, humans appear to be advancing at an alarming rate. Meanwhile, far from the Council chamber, Commander Olivia Martinez stood in the control center of Earth's lunar base. Through the reinforced viewport, she could see the final stages of the Sentinel network taking shape in orbit around the moon. Hundreds of satellites and defense platforms, previously hidden in underground facilities across the solar system, were being deployed in a complex grid pattern. Status report, Martinez said, her dark eyes fixed on the construction. Lieutenant Greg Parker looked up from his console. Sentinel network at 87% completion, Commander. All systems functional. The quantum link is stable across all nodes, Martinez nodded. The Sentinel network represented defensive technology that would have been impossible under Council restrictions. For decades, the Council had claimed that quantum-linked defense systems were too destabilizing and prohibited their development. Now, humanity was free to explore technologies that had been deliberately kept from them. And the Council spies? Martinez asked. Still watching from the outer system boundary? Parker replied with a slight smile. They have no idea what they're looking at. On the human colony of New Horizon, 50 light-years from Earth, Dr. William Foster stepped back from his workbench and rubbed his tired eyes. After working non-stop for nearly 3 months, the prototype was finally ready. The Hammond drive sat before him, a surprisingly small device for something that would revolutionize space travel. Under Council regulations, humans had been limited to standard warp technology requiring weeks to travel between star systems. The Council had insisted that faster methods were theoretical and potentially dangerous to spacetime. Foster activated his CUM unit. Foster to Project Director. The prototype is ready for testing. Across the lab, engineers prepared the test. Vessel, a small, unmanned probe that would make the first journey using the new drive. If successful, it would travel across the galaxy in minutes rather than weeks. Initiating test sequence, announced the lead engineer. Launch in 3, 2, 1... The probe disappeared with a flash of blue light. Seconds later, a cheer erupted in the control room as data began streaming in. The probe had successfully reached its destination, a monitoring buoy near the galactic core, 30,000 light-years away in just under 5 minutes. Foster smiled as he studied the readings. Send the data to Earth immediately. President Kelly will want to see this. Back on Earth, President Susan Kelly stood before a packed auditorium in Geneva. The address was being broadcast to every human settlement across Earth and the colonies. 3 months of isolation had been difficult for many citizens, but the rapid technological progress had kept morale high. "Citizens of Earth and her colonies," Kelly began, her voice strong and clear. "Today marks the 90th day since our withdrawal from the Galactic Council. I want to thank each of you for your patience and support during this transition." She paused, looking directly into the camera. "For too long, we were held back, restricted, controlled. The evidence we discovered proved what many had suspected. The elder races deliberately sabotaged our advancement to maintain their dominance. They feared what humanity might become if allowed to develop freely." Images appeared on screens behind her, showing the new technologies being deployed across human space. "In just 3 months, we have achieved what the Council insisted would take centuries. Our scientists, freed from artificial constraints, have made breakthroughs in propulsion, defense, energy production, and medicine. These advancements will transform life for every human." The audience applauded as more images displayed the rapid progress being made. "Let me be clear," Kelly continued. "We are not declaring war on the Galactic Council. We are not seeking conflict with any species. We are simply declaring our independence and our right to develop without interference." In the council chamber, the debate over military action continued. The vote was leaning heavily toward intervention. When an aide rushed to the mediator's side and whispered urgently, Uhl's gelatinous form rippled with alarm. "This session will recess immediately. New information requires the council's urgent attention." Senior delegates were ushered into a secure briefing room. There, they watched a recording that had just been broadcast across all human settlements. President Kelly's speech, translated into all council languages, played before them. As the recording ended, silence filled the room. "They are bluffing," Tackle insisted. "No species can advance so rapidly. This is human deception to avoid our rightful intervention." The intelligence director looked uncomfortable. "Our latest scans indicate they are not bluffing. The energy readings from human space have increased exponentially. Whatever they're building, it's unlike anything we've encountered before." Zixvax's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation. "We should have contained them decades ago. Humans were always too unpredictable, too ambitious." The ancient Valari representative, who had remained silent until now, spoke softly. "Perhaps we should consider another approach. If humans have indeed achieved such advancement, military action may prove unwise." Outside the secure room, word was spreading among the council delegates. Many of the younger species, those who had also chafed under the elder race's dominance, watched with growing interest. If humans could break free and advance so rapidly, what might be possible for others? The seeds of a much larger problem were beginning to take root in the Galactic Council. The problem of change. 6 months after humanity's withdrawal from the Galactic Council, the debate had ended. The Council had voted to authorize what they called a police action against Earth. 200 warships from 7 species gathered at the edge of human space, forming the largest military fleet assembled in the past 3 centuries. Their mission was simple: show enough force to bring the humans back into line without actually starting a war. Grand Admiral Vexler of the Drakari Empire stood on the command deck of the dreadnought Eternal Flame, the designated flagship of the combined fleet. The tall, reptilian admiral had fought in numerous campaigns against pirates and rebels. His scaled skin bore the ceremonial scars of 20 victories. "Status of the fleet," Vexler demanded, his yellow eyes scanning the tactical display. "All ships report ready, Admiral," replied his first officer. "The Meldorian and Solarian contingents are in formation. The Raxion attack group has taken the forward position as ordered." Vexler nodded in approval. The plan was straightforward. They would advance toward the human colony of Liberty Point, a small but strategically important outpost near the border of Council space. Liberty Point was known to have minimal defenses and would serve as an ideal demonstration of Council authority. Once humans realized the overwhelming force arrayed against them, they would surely return to diplomatic channels. Send the final warning to Earth government, Vexler ordered. Then set course for Liberty Point, standard approach formation. As the massive fleet began to move, none of the commanders noticed the small unmanned probes quietly observing them from just beyond sensor range on Earth. In the underground command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, President Kelly and her crisis team watched the Council fleet's movements on a real-time display. The room was silent as officers and officials studied the tactical situation. 200 ships, General Wright said, breaking the silence, exactly as our intelligence predicted. Kelly's face remained calm despite the gravity of the situation. They're heading for Liberty Point? Yes, Madam President, confirmed Admiral. Frank Harris, recently promoted to lead Earth's rapidly expanding Space Force. Our sensors show they'll reach the colony in approximately 6 hours. Kelly turned to Ambassador Morrison, who had been her most trusted advisor during the withdrawal process. Your assessment, Jack? Morrison leaned forward, studying the display. They expect an easy victory. Liberty Point is lightly populated and, as far as they know, minimally defended. They want to make a statement without starting a full-scale war. Then we'll make our own statement, Kelly replied. She looked to Admiral Harris. Is the Defiant in position? Harris nodded. Captain Scott reports all systems ready. The Sentinel network is fully operational in the Liberty Point system, but remains in stealth mode. The Council fleet has no idea what they're sailing into. Kelly took a deep breath. This would be humanity's first military engagement since withdrawing from the Council. How they responded would set the tone for all future interactions with galactic society. Activate the Clark Protocol, she ordered. Authorize Captain Scott to proceed with the demonstration as planned. No casualties unless absolutely necessary. In the Liberty Point system, Captain Daniel Scott stood on the bridge of the EDF Defiant, the lone visible defender of the human colony. The Defiant appeared to be a standard human military vessel by Council standards, though it was larger than most ships in Earth's previous fleet. What the Council didn't know was that the Defiant incorporated technology that had been developed in secret for decades, waiting for the day when humanity would be free to use it. Council fleet has entered the system, Captain, reported Lieutenant Samantha Rodriguez from the tactical station. They're moving in standard assault formation. 200 vessels as expected. Scott nodded, his expression serious but confident. A former fighter pilot, the 40-year-old captain had been selected personally by Admiral Harris for this mission. Time until they reach weapons range? 17 minutes at current speed, Rodriguez answered. Scott opened a channel to the entire ship. All hands, this is the captain. The Council fleet has arrived. Remember your training. Today we show the galaxy what humanity is truly capable of. Stand by for the Clark Protocol. Throughout the ship, crew members prepared for what was to come. Many felt a mixture of nervousness and pride. They would be the first to use technology that the Council had actively suppressed for generations aboard the Eternal Flame. Admiral Vexler watched with satisfaction as his fleet approached. Liberty Point long-range scans showed only a single human vessel defending the colony. This would be even easier than he had anticipated. Hail the human ship, Vexler ordered. Let's see if they have the sense to surrender before we're forced to disable them. On the Defiant's main screen, the image of the Drakari Admiral appeared. Vexler's reptilian features formed what passed for a smile in his species. Human vessel, this is Grand Admiral Vexler of the Galactic Council Combined Fleet. You are outnumbered and outgunned. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. This colony is now under Council protection. Captain Scott stood from his command chair, facing the screen with calm determination. Admiral Vexler, this is Captain Daniel Scott of the Earth. Defense Force vessel Defiant. We recognize your presence in this system, but reject your authority. Liberty Point remains under Earth jurisdiction. I suggest you withdraw your fleet immediately. Vexler's scaled brow ridges rose in surprise at the human's audacity. One ship against 200, and you suggest we withdraw? Your species' arrogance truly knows no bounds. You have 5 minutes to reconsider before we open fire. The transmission ended and Scott returned to his chair. "Activate the Sentinel network," he ordered quietly. Lieutenant Rodriguez entered a series of commands on her console. "Sentinel network coming online now, Captain." Throughout the Liberty Point system, thousands of previously invisible defense platforms suddenly materialized. They had been deployed months earlier but remained undetectable to Council sensors thanks to advanced cloaking technology. The platforms formed a complex, three-dimensional grid that completely surrounded the approaching Council fleet. On the Eternal Flame, alarms blared as sensors detected the sudden appearance of the defense network. "Admiral!" shouted the sensor. "Officer, unknown devices have appeared throughout the system. Thousands of them, surrounding our position." Before Vexler could respond, 50 Earth vessels materialized around Liberty Point, seemingly appearing from nowhere. The Hammond drive had allowed immediate reinforcement from across human space, delivering the ships instantaneously rather than through the gradual emergence from warp that Council technology required. "Impossible," Vexler whispered, staring at the tactical display as it updated to show the human forces. Captain Scott's voice came through the COM system, broadcasting to the entire Council fleet. "Admiral Vexler, the Earth Defense Force is now activating the Clark Protocol. This is not an attack, but a demonstration. Please observe carefully." On the Defiance bridge, Scott gave a nod to his weapons officer. "Initiate Clark Protocol. Targeted effect only." A pulse of energy, invisible to normal sensors, rippled outward from the Defiant. As it passed through the Council fleet, something extraordinary happened. The Council vessel's weapons system simply stopped functioning. Their shields flickered and died. Propulsion systems went offline, leaving the ships drifting on momentum alone. Only life support and basic communications remained operational aboard the Eternal Flame. Chaos erupted as system after system failed. Vexler barked orders that could not be carried out. Engineers reported that nothing was physically damaged. The system simply refused to function, as if the laws of physics had been selectively suspended within their ships. "What have they done?" demanded Vexler, his composure finally breaking. Scott's voice came through again, calm and measured. "The Clark Protocol allows us to selectively disrupt the laws of physics within a defined area. Your weapons and propulsion will remain offline for the next 30 minutes. We could have disabled your life support as well, but chose not to. Consider this a courtesy." The captain paused before continuing. "Return to Council space, Admiral. This demonstration was just that demonstration. There will not be another. Next time, we will consider it an act of war." For several long moments, the bridge of the Eternal Flame was silent. Then Vexler did something no one expected. He laughed, a harsh, rasping sound. "Clever humans," he said almost to himself. "No wonder the elders feared you." He turned to his communications officer. "When systems return, send word to the Council. Tell them we are withdrawing. And include complete recordings of what happened here." As recordings of the Liberty Point encounter spread throughout the galaxy, species that had long been dominated by the elder races began to see something they hadn't dared hope for in millennia: an alternative to Council rule. The balance of power that had remained stable for thousands of years was beginning to shift. The revolution had begun. News of the Liberty Point incident spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. The Council had tried to control the narrative, describing it as a minor technical malfunction rather than a demonstration of superior human technology. Their efforts failed when crew members from various ships began sharing their experiences through unofficial channels. Within days, virtually every spacefaring species had seen footage of 200 Council warships rendered helpless by a single human vessel. The impact was immediate and far-reaching. The Arcadian Republic, a federation of 15 worlds that had long chafed under Council restrictions, formally announced their withdrawal from the Galactic Council. Just 2 weeks after Liberty Point, the Tau Collective followed 3 days later. By the end of the month, 12 other younger species had also severed ties with the Council and reached out to Earth for alliance talks. In the Grand Meeting Hall of New Geneva on Mars, representatives from these former Council races gathered. to sign the founding charter of the Independent Systems Alliance. The circular chamber, with its transparent dome showing the red Martian landscape and terraformed green valleys, symbolized humanity's determination to reshape their environment rather than accept limitations. Ambassador Morrison stood at the central podium, looking out at the diverse gathering of species. Some resembled Earth creatures, while others were so alien that special accommodations had been made for their biology. All shared one thing in common: they had grown tired of the elder race's control. Today marks a new chapter in galactic history. Morrison began. The Independent Systems Alliance is founded not on dominance or control, but on mutual respect and cooperation. Each member maintains their sovereignty while contributing to our shared defense and prosperity. The Arcadian representative, a tall humanoid with iridescent skin, was the first to approach the charter. The Arcadian Republic joins with hope for a truly equal partnership. He pressed his palm to the document, leaving a glowing imprint that served as his people's signature. One by one, representatives from each species added their marks to the charter. When the last signature was recorded, the assembled delegates erupted in applause and various species-specific expressions of approval. Meanwhile, in the secure wing of Earth's Quantum Research Division, Security Director Jason Garcia reviewed the latest intelligence reports. Since the formation of the Alliance had been announced, there had been 5 assassination attempts against human leaders. All had failed spectacularly thanks to the predictive security systems Garcia's team had developed. "They're getting desperate," Garcia remarked to his deputy, a former intelligence operative named Lisa Reyes. "This latest attempt used technology we've never seen before." Reyes nodded, studying the holographic replay of an assassin attempting to infiltrate a diplomatic reception on New Horizon. The would-be killer had used some form of phase-shifting technology to try to bypass security, only to be caught by sensors that detected the slight quantum disturbance his equipment created. "The Drukhari are behind this one," Reyes said confidently. "The phase-shifting matches their research patterns. But they got the technology from the Solarians. The elder races are working together now." Garcia frowned. "Alert all diplomatic and military personnel. Upgrade security protocols to level 5. And inform the President that the Concord is real." The Concord of Preservation had been only a rumor until now, an alleged secret alliance of the 12 most powerful elder races, formed to maintain their dominance over younger species. If the Drukhari and Solarians were sharing restricted technology, it confirmed the Concord's existence on Earth. President Kelly received the security update during a meeting with her cabinet. The mood in the Oval Office grew tense as she shared the news. "So it's confirmed," General Wright said grimly. "The Concord exists, and they're moving against us." "Not just against us," Kelly corrected, "against the entire alliance. Ambassador Morrison needs to be informed immediately." Before her staff could respond, a priority communication alert sounded. The wall screen activated to show Ambassador Morrison's face, his expression unusually serious. "Madam President, I apologize for the interruption, but something unexpected has happened. I've just received a request to address the full Galactic Council." Kelly raised an eyebrow. "They want you to explain our position?" "No," Morrison replied. "They don't know I'm contacting you." This request came through back channels from the Volari representative. He claims there's something the Alliance needs to know, something called Operation Eternal Dominion. The name meant nothing to Kelly or her advisors, but the urgency in Morrison's voice was clear. "Do you trust this source?" Kelly asked. "The Volari have always been the most reasonable of the elder races," Morrison answered, "and they've remained neutral during recent events. I believe it's worth investigating." Kelly considered the risks. Sending Morrison back to the council chamber could be a trap. Yet, if the Volari were reaching out, there might be an opportunity to gather crucial intelligence. "Proceed with caution, Jack. Take a full security team and make sure the Defiant is in orbit, ready to extract you if necessary." 2 days later, Ambassador Morrison returned to the Galactic Council chamber for the first time since Humanities. Dramatic withdrawal, the atmosphere was noticeably different. The chamber was only half full, with empty seats where the Alliance members had once sat. The remaining delegates whispered among themselves as Morrison and his security team entered. The mediator Uhl seemed surprised by Morrison's appearance despite having received formal notification. "The Council recognizes Ambassador Morrison of Earth," Uhl announced. His gelatinous form rippling with what might have been nervousness, Morrison walked to the central platform, his security team maintaining a protective formation around him. He didn't bother with diplomatic pleasantries. "I've returned to this chamber for one purpose," he stated firmly. "To deliver a message to the assembled representatives and particularly to the elder races." He paused, making eye contact with the Meldorian, Drakari, and Solarian delegates. "We know about Operation Eternal Dominion." The chamber went deadly quiet. Several elder race representatives visibly reacted. The Meldorian's mandibles clicked rapidly. The Drakari representative's scales flushed dark, and the Solarian's forearms tensed in unison. "This is outrageous," Zixvax finally spluttered. "The human makes baseless accusations to justify their rebellion." Morrison remained calm. "Operation Eternal Dominion is not a baseless accusation. It is the most closely guarded secret of the elder races, a systematic program designed to suppress technological advancement of younger species to maintain your power." He activated a small device and holographic data appeared around the chamber. "For over 4,000 years, you have deliberately introduced flaws into shared technology, sabotaged promising research, and even assassinated Sokaim, too close to breakthroughs that might challenge your dominance." The data continued to appear, showing specific instances, dates, and details that no outsider should have known. "Humanity wasn't your only target," Morrison continued. "You've done this to every emerging species. The difference is that we were the first to discover it, and the first to successfully break free." Counselor Tiaxkal of the Raxian Empire stood up, his voice a threatening growl. "This is treasonous." "Who provided this classified information?" Morrison smiled slightly. "That's the interesting part. We didn't need an informant. Once freed from your restrictions, our quantum computing and artificial intelligence systems were able to analyze historical data and identify the pattern of suppression. Everything fell into place." He looked around the chamber, now addressing the younger species, who remained in the council. "We've shared this evidence with every species in the galaxy. Judge for yourselves if you've been treated as equals or as subjects." The council chamber descended into chaos. Delegates shouted accusations at each other and demanded explanations from the elder races. The mediator Uhl expanded to his full size, trying unsuccessfully to restore order. As Morrison and his team departed, he noticed that several representatives from younger species were already leaving their seats, presumably to contact their governments about what they had learned. Within days, the 12 most powerful elder races announced the formation of the Concord of Preservation, abandoning any pretense of equality within the Council. They declared the Independent Systems Alliance a threat to galactic stability and began mobilizing their military forces. The lines for the First Galactic Civil War in 50,000 years were drawn. But neither side realized that a far greater revelation was about to change everything. As both sides prepared for war, a discovery in the depths of Earth's Quantum Research Division changed everything. Dr. Nicole Edwards had been studying the strange phenomena that made the Clark Protocol possible when she noticed something unexpected. In her data, the universe itself seemed to be reacting to advanced civilizations in ways that defied conventional understanding. Edwards was a brilliant physicist with a reputation for seeing patterns others missed. Her lab on the outskirts of Chicago housed some of the most advanced quantum research equipment ever built. For 3 weeks straight, she had barely left the facility, working day and night to confirm her findings before taking them to President Kelly. Now she stood in the Oval Office, facing the president and a small group of key advisors, including Ambassador Morrison, General Wright, and Dr. Sam Lopez, the head of Earth Scientific Council. "Thank you for seeing me on such short notice, Madam President," Edwards began, her voice steady despite her exhaustion. What I'm about to share will change our approach to the current crisis. She activated a holographic display showing complex data patterns and cosmic measurements. My team has discovered evidence that the universe is approaching what we call a developmental threshold. It's a point where sufficiently advanced civilizations either cross together into a new phase of existence or trigger cosmic balance mechanisms that prevent crossing. President Kelly leaned forward, her brow furrowed. Explain this in simpler terms, Doctor, Edwards nodded. The universe has built-in safeguards against unbalanced advancement. When civilizations reach certain technological thresholds, they're meant to do so together, sharing knowledge and perspectives. If advancement becomes too uneven, natural forces act to equalize or reset progress. Are you saying the universe itself prevents some species from dominating others? Morrison asked, his diplomatic mind quickly grasping the implications. Precisely, Edwards confirmed. The elder races knew this. Their scientists discovered it millennia ago. But instead of sharing this knowledge, they chose to maintain their power by actively preventing other species from advancing too quickly. She adjusted the display to show predictive models. The elder races calculated that this threshold wouldn't be reached for another 1,000 years based on their controlled rate of advancement. But human innovation since our withdrawal has accelerated the timeline dramatically. We're approaching the threshold now, and the universe is responding. General Wright frowned. How does this help us with the impending conflict? The Concord is still mobilizing against the Alliance. Edwards smiled for the first time. Because my team has developed something we call the Unity Protocol. It's a technological framework that can only function when multiple species contribute their unique scientific perspectives. No single species can operate it alone, not even humans. She displayed a new set of schematics. This technology harnesses the threshold crossing energy instead of triggering the reset mechanism, but it requires genuine cooperation. If implemented, it would render most weapons useless while dramatically advancing peaceful technologies. President Kelly was silent for a long moment, weighing the implications. So our options are to fight a war using our advanced technology, potentially triggering this cosmic reset, or to share our breakthroughs with others, including our enemies. That's correct, Madam President, Edwards replied. The Unity Protocol would require cooperation even with the elder races. Kelly looked to her advisors. Ambassador Morrison spoke first. The younger races in the Alliance would likely embrace this. They joined us seeking freedom, not dominance. General Wright seemed less convinced. The elder races have suppressed others for thousands of years. Why would they suddenly cooperate now? Because we can prove it to them, Edwards said confidently. The evidence is in the cosmos itself, if you know how to read it, and the alternative is worse for everyone. After hours of discussion, President Kelly made her decision. Instead of keeping their advanced technology secret as a military advantage, humanity would share everything freely with any species willing to contribute to the Unity Protocol. It was a gamble that went against millennia of galactic politics based on secrecy and dominance. Within days, the scientific foundations of the Unity Protocol were transmitted to every member of the Alliance, and, more controversially, to the Galactic Council and Concord leadership. Along with the scientific data came evidence of the cosmic threshold and the potential consequences of continued conflict. The response was mixed. Alliance members quickly committed to the protocol, eager to participate in the next stage of development. Some neutral species, seeing the evidence, also pledged their support. The Concord initially dismissed the information as human deception, but individual scientists within the elder races began verifying the data independently. The Volari were the first elder race to break ranks with the Concord. Their scientists confirmed Edwards' findings and publicly advocated for cooperation. The Arcturians followed, then several others. With each defection, the Concord's united front crumbled on a neutral space station at the borders between Alliance and Council space. Representatives from across the galaxy gathered to discuss implementation of the Unity Protocol. Dr. Edwards led the presentation, explaining in careful detail how the technology would work and what each species needed to contribute. The beauty of this approach, she explained to the diverse audience, is that it requires the unique perspective of each participating species. The Meldorians' understanding of quantum entanglement, the Solarians' expertise in energy manipulation, the Drakari knowledge of spatial dynamics all are essential components. No single species has the complete picture. As the scientific evidence became impossible to deny, more and more species joined the effort. The Galactic Council as an institution collapsed under the weight of its exposed lies about Operation Eternal Dominion. The Concord of Preservation disbanded when most of its members chose cooperation over conflict. In its place rose something new, the Galactic Assembly, built on principles of equal contribution rather than hierarchical control. The Assembly's first major project was the full implementation of the Unity Protocol across all participating worlds. 1 year after humanity's withdrawal from the Council, the inaugural session of the new Galactic Assembly convened on a massive space station constructed specifically for this purpose. The circular chamber contained seats for every species, arranged without hierarchy or privilege. At the center was a device that represented the Unity Protocol, a physical manifestation of cooperation across species. Jack Morrison, now Premier of Earth and humanity's representative to the Assembly, stood to address the gathered delegates. His year of diplomatic work had aged him, but there was a satisfaction in his eyes that hadn't been there before. When Earth ended all diplomacy with the Galactic Council, Morrison began, many assumed we sought isolation or dominance. The truth was simpler. We sought equality and honesty. We rejected a system built on deception and control. He looked around the chamber, making eye contact with representatives from both former Alliance and Council species. We didn't end diplomacy because we rejected cooperation. We ended it because true cooperation requires honesty, equality, and mutual respect. The old Council lacked all three. Today we begin again with those principles at our foundation. The Unity Protocol device in the center of the chamber activated, creating a field of energy that connected all present. Through this field, each species could briefly experience the perspectives of all others, a moment of genuine understanding that transcended traditional communication. When the field dissipated, there was a profound silence, followed by unanimous approval of the Assembly's founding charter. The cosmic threshold that had once threatened reset now promised advancement. Beyond anything a single species could have achieved alone, human independence had never been the goal, is merely the necessary catalyst for genuine galactic unity. By refusing to participate in a broken system, humanity had forced the creation of something better. The species that had once been dismissed as newcomers had transformed the galaxy not through dominance, but by insisting on a better way forward. As Premier Morrison returned to his seat, Dr. Edwards leaned over to whisper, "Not bad for a species that's only been spacefaring for a few centuries." Morrison smiled. It turns out the galaxy needed some fresh perspectives. Sometimes the newest voices have the most important things to say. Around them, the Assembly continued its work, building something that none of them could have created alone. The era of secrets and suppression had ended. The age of unity had begun.